Yeah, so just the quick and much delayed Go-libp2p update. So we had some broad goals for the third quarter, which happened to be right about when I started. Very convenient for me. Yeah, broadly, as Mike mentioned, we're trying to have libp2p become a first-class project. As that relates to us, we staffed up a bit, adding myself and Raul as like the first full-time engineers. We kind of separated our goals from IPFS, so that led to the creation of our first OKR document. And we're generally trying to get users engaged outside of protocol labs, which honestly, without any outreach, has been a pretty remarkable success so far. So great steps there. Generally, we wanted to improve connectivity, improve our resource constraints, and improve developer friendliness. As far as what we actually accomplished towards that, we landed a massive transport refactor, which was long outstanding from Steven's work. That unifies the interfaces into libp2p so that there's one uniform entry point, which we're still trying to get used everywhere, but that's a huge help. Personally, I can vouch for that. We made the first steps towards kicking the Pure Store out of memory, so Raul and I worked a lot on that, getting it backed by a data store instance, getting some benchmarks down so that we can actually determine when we cross a barrier towards acceptable performance for IPFS usage. It also, yeah, potentially makes us like less vulnerable to address spam, which is something that we're currently thinking about. Integrating the quick transport, so Martin very quickly was able to get that landed both in libp2p and eventually in IPFS as well, which is super exciting. And we also made some steps towards healing the DHT, although that goal was like way out of scope. Definitely a learning experience there. So I was able to land some NetDef enhancements, which integrate now into IPTV as of very recently. We established a libp2p daemon spec and an initial implementation. Going forward, yeah, realizing that fixing the DHT is a large task, so we're going to work on getting the testbed stuff in conjunction with the JavaScript team. I would love to get some of the NetDef stuff integrated with that, so I think that'll be helpful. Then that will hopefully lead to interoperability testing. We also need to get, I didn't fully type that out, but the libp2p daemon needs a JavaScript implementation. I promise you it's not too bad. That's not a read. Yeah. Like, step it up, guys. Yeah, we want to Raul's going to lead some research into more efficient routing table data structures. And yeah, Piso's going to be working on improving circuit relays, which means getting them enabled, but also establishing some coordination so that people can announce over circuit relays. And my kind of pet project is to improve stream multiplexing a little bit, have it be TCP, simultaneous open, peer-to-peer friendly, but also reduce the round-trip times required to bootstrap those connections, especially with known peers. Additionally, we're going to be continuing our work on improving resource constraints, just getting the Pure Store work actually kicked downstream, and also working on connectivity constraints. So that's all the connection manager stuff. If in addition to our own concerns, Ethereum mentioned that they wanted to have nodes balance the number of outbound versus inbound connections, which is actually something we can do with the features that we have today. So it'd be great to get stuff like that integrated. And then, yeah, we want to make sure that we improve our logging quality and actually start using the open tracing backend so that we can start doing binary traces. Something I'd like to figure out is whether or not we can do like more compact traces so that we could start to process them in like an automated manner when we start doing our testbed like cluster tests. And that is everything. Just wanted to thank you all.
When you make one point about the connection tracking, the direction tracking, so what happens when we start doing that reversal, and one of the most trivial things that you can do in that reversal when you're using a signaling server is that when you want to connect to a NATed node, but you're not NATed, you basically ask the signaling server to tell the NATed node to connect to you. So what direction is this?
That sounds like an inbound connection for the netted node. Problem solved. Next.
Yeah, but it really is an outbound connection for that.
Yeah,
It's something that can be made a problem of connection migration, where you first connect through a not ideal transport of a circuit, for example.
also, if you're being told to connect via a protocol, we can, as long as it always has the same behavior, which it might not, but I think you could just uniformly say that, any dial me requests are inbound connections when they get established. But yeah, that has to be uniform. It's definitely, there have been concerns raised already about how generally applicable that is. So, yeah. Mike?
Okay,
Yeah.
then you.
Quick draw.
So I just want to warn you about a couple things that I think are going to come up.
Mhm.
So from Filecoin, I think they need a more scalable DHT.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second big ask, which I think you already know about, is PubSub. They need a more scalable PubSub. The third thing I'm hearing from Fritz is that there's a lot of what he calls log spam. I'm not sure if it's coined from IPFS or libp2p, but
libp2p.
Okay,
The
okay.
biggest spammers in the world.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right, okay. So anyway, so they're having trouble understanding what it means. So
Yeah.
that might be something that comes up. Or just
That
to
was
be aware.
a big part of why I was interested in the state machine stuff, because right now a lot of our logs, I just genuinely don't understand what they mean. So, yeah, and we also don't have a big barrier between info and debug. I've noticed info is basically debug.
We know we're using info. We should let info be part of the application, and we should stay on debug, or maybe we should have a verbose level
Yeah,
that goes even below debug.
yeah.
We should do that because we're definitely generating too much logs. If you
Okay,
start
cool.
IPFS logging debug, you're going to get spammed.
But that's like great feedback, and yeah, even like just kind of a persistent issue to be like, I don't know what this means would be great.
Okay.
Lars?
So the one advantage
Oh,
for logs, sorry.
Yeah,
for
it's all
logs.
good.
So the one advantage for logs is that we log, fortunately, we log the file line where this actually is coming from, so you can read the code and kind of understand what this log means. But if we move into the tracing stuff, we're going to lose this ability, which is kind of sad.
Why will we lose it? Why can't we just keep them out?
Because the way the log is working, logging key value pairs. So,
Line number and error message? What's the key value pair?
well, it's complicated. With the
Okay,
tracing.
alright.
It's no longer a message. It's basically a bunch. It's an object that has keys and values. That's what you're logging.
Okay.
For the tracing. And I'm very confused about how it works.
But I think we can still keep an execution trace, but maybe you and I should talk about this off the line, but I may just be dumb.
A question about Pistol, that's you, right?
Yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Yep. So there are cases where it's actually really, really good to have the PSW in memory only. Namely, cases where you want all the disk performance you can get on the IPFS IO gateways, for example. And so it would be really cool if it would be configurable.
Yeah, it is. What we've done is actually
If
separated
it's
this.
configurable in IPFS, I mean.
Oh, in IPFS, all right.
Yeah.
So we could, I guess there is so one thing that we did was introduce caching on memory caching on the data store backed one. So there is some level of caching in memory, but if you really want to keep it memory only, then currently you would have to import a different package, right? So we've separated the implementations into a pstore mem and a pstore ds. So this would need to be statically configured. I think we can find a way to make it.
I mean, there are in-memory data stores as well, right? There's the map data store.
Yeah.
Which use?
Yeah, that
So you
was.
don't need-
They lose a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
structuring though.
another- Yeah, that's another interesting aspect because now that we're using a data store backed PS store, you could, as you said, we could solely use that particular PS store with the memory backed implementation as well of the data store itself. Right?
With the serializations, we
yeah.
definitely still lose a little though. So
Yeah.
there's cause to keep the old one around, but it should be like if you want like a configuration switch, I think that should be easy.